Hey everyone, welcome back to Unbiased Magic Reviews. Today I'm going to be doing a requested review from Aman Shabir. I hope I've pronounced your name correctly. Aman asked me to review Jinxed by Peter Turner about 3 weeks ago. I'm finally getting to it now. Sorry for the delay. I do like to try to review stuff that I think people would be interested in. And this 2 DVD set was just a wonderful purchase that I had made for about 4 years ago now, maybe 5 years ago. It's been quite a while. I think it did come out like around 2014, and so here you're gonna get it's like a limited edition 2 DVD set. I think you could still get it now for like $200 off of eBay. I think I saw it being sold for, originally it was sold for $180, and this is Peter Turner's take on 7 effects that come from classic mentalism. They come from Theo Animan's different publications, including the Jinxed, Practical Mental Effects, 202 Forcing Techniques, those different books of his and publications. And so what you're going to be getting is you're going to be getting over 3 hours of video, which includes performances and explanations. And the explanations for some of the effects are about 15 minutes long, others go a half an hour, and there are a couple that go even like 50 minutes long. So the real value that I think of the DVD set is watching like old school Peter Turner perform, watching him doing cold readings with people along with these effects mixed in. I think for me that was the main value of the DVD set. Not to say that you're not going to learn some great mentalism and you're not going to learn some interesting variations, because these are like modernized handlings of these classic effects by Animan. So I'm just going to run through the different effects on both of the DVDs and my own thoughts for you guys, because I performed 4 out of the 7 effects. I've performed them for years, for the last couple of years, all the time. So it gives you an idea, just from my own experiences and stuff. Maybe it'll be helpful to you. The first effect is called Question and Answer, and this is basic Q&A, and you could find that, of course, in Animan's Practical Mental Effects. I think it's like on page 12 or 13. The difference is that Animan uses billets, and there he has a person. The effect is a person writes down a question, and then you give them a reading, and you give them the answer to the question without seeing it. And in the original version, he uses billets. Peter Turner uses an envelope. And so the method's very, very straightforward. And anyone that's into mentalism probably already has different versions of how they would be able to do that on their own anyway. But the part of it that I found to be most valuable was just watching Peter Turner perform that effect. So the second effect is called Life Equation, and that effect actually, if you don't have the DVD set, you can actually find that in various other publications of Peter Turner, because he did publish that in his book Bigger Fish 2. I think he also published it in his other book called Pipe Dreams. And so the effect is basically that he's made a prediction of a number, and then the person takes numbers that are important to them, like their birthday, a year of importance, stuff like that. They add them up in their telephone and their calculator, and then the final number matches what was already predicted ahead of time. And so that's something that you're going to use that, because it's really a great number force. And he got that that's his variation of Animan's number force, which can be found in 202 Forcing Techniques by Animan. And so you can find it in that book of his. Of interest, what I found interesting is that if you do like this, because I did like it, if you do some research, you'll find that Fraser Parker put out an effect in a PDF. It was called Utsukashi, and that effect, I think I'm pronouncing that right, Utsukashi, that effect is actually half of the Life Equation force. And so to perform that effect, you don't even need a calculator. It's all propless mentalism is what it is. It's propless mentalism at its best, and it's really, really great. And I can tell you guys that nowadays I just perform the Fraser Parker version, but I used to perform Peter Turner's version. So if you do like that effect, Life Equation, then you probably want to just check out Fraser Parker's version of it. And again, like I said, you can find that in Peter Turner's book, Bigger Fish 2 as well, because it's also published there. The last effect on that first DVD is called Rosy Red. And for me, that was probably the one that I really didn't like as much because it's more of an effect that relies on dual reality. I mean, that kind of effect is good for when you're performing for stage. And in his explanation, he does mention Colin MacLeod's bookless book test. And Colin MacLeod's effect is incredible. So if you're interested in trying to learn, you want to learn something as a good opener for a stage presentation, I would recommend you check that effect out by Colin MacLeod, the bookless book test, which you can find that on his DVD set called Opening Minds. His method is ingenious. It's just very, very well thought out. And so that's something to check out. But the effect that Peter Turner goes over, that Rosy Red, I didn't really like it. And I thought the explanation wasn't very good by Peter Turner. So for me, that was the effect I didn't like on the first DVD. The second DVD starts out with Finger Finger. And basically in that effect, he has two spectators stick out some fingers. And then like what they do is that he turns his back and they each put out different fingers and then they add them up. And then when he turns around again, they put their hands away. When he turns around again, they tell him the total and he's able to tell each person how many fingers they were holding out. Now, the inspiration of that effect comes directly from the Jinxed. And here in the Jinxed, there's, you can find here in the Jinxed number 65, Finger Finger. This is the original. Now the method here is totally different than the method that Peter Turner uses, but what is interesting is that Peter Turner does go over and explain the original Finger Finger and how it's done. So if you do get the DVD set, you will learn how the original version was done even without getting the Jinxed. But if you're into mentalism, you should own the Jinxed because it's definitely, it's timeless is what it is. So that effect though, relied on a psychological force, so I didn't really like that because there's a good chance it might not work. But you could see from the performance that when it does work, wow, it really hits hard. It's really incredible. So that definitely is something to think about. And it does lead into the next effect on the second DVD, which was called Cigarette Divination. And that effect, he uses a box of cigarettes and he turns and he has the person pull out as many cigarettes as they want. And then they close up the box and they're hiding the cigarettes and he's able to tell them how many cigarettes they took out. Now the original effect though didn't use cigarettes, and the original effect did come from the Jinxed as well. And that effect was called a divination with matches by Fred DeMuth, and you could find that actually if you're interested. It's on page 55 of the first volume of the Jinxed, and that actually was based on a mathematical principle, which again, if I remember correctly, I think Peter Turner actually does go over the method of the original effect on the DVD set, and then his method is totally different. And I have to tell you guys that I like his method better than what you'll find in the Jinxed. Except the one thing I didn't like was I didn't like that he used cigarettes. Cigarettes are nasty. And it's kind of funny if you watch the presentation because the two spectators smoke cigarettes and he doesn't. And he pulls out a box of cigarettes and he says, well, I don't smoke, but I use these cigarettes just to do this trick, just to do this effect. And then he doesn't offer them a cigarette. So, I mean, obviously, cigarettes are just disgusting. So I would never ever perform the effect with cigarettes. Instead, what I've done is the following: is that I use gum is what I use to do the effect, and I can have the person pull out. And the thing that's interesting is that you have the person pull out the gum, and you have them pull out like one or two, and you have them, you tell them to pull out some and to like move them around, so that way when you have your head turned, you don't know how many they're actually really taking out. And then they close it up and you're able to tell them, you put the box in their hand or whatever, they hold on to it, and then you're able to tell them how many pieces they took out and hid or whatnot. So it's exactly the same effect as the one that Peter Turner does in the exact same method. The only difference is that what I'm doing is that I'm using a box of gum, and I actually doctored up my own gum with the same exact, I'm using the exact same method as he is. The difference is I'm not using cigarettes, I'm using gum. So if you do get the DVD set and if you do like it, you'll be disappointed that he's using cigarettes. But don't fret, you can still use something. You can use gum like the way that I have and still do the effect just fine. So it's definitely worth checking out. And so that's the second effect on the second DVD, and I thought that was great. I really like it, and even to this day I still use that all the time, so that's great. The next effect is called Lock and Keep, and that's a variation of 7 Keys to Ball Plate. And the original effect, actually, if you're interested, right, the original effect again comes from the Jinxed, and I have it bookmarked here for you guys to show you. Here's the original effect by Hen Fetch. It's called Lock and Key. And if you're interested, you can read about it in the Jinx, right? But Peter Turner's version just uses business cards, and the lock is the person's cell phone, and the key is the PIN number for the cell phone. And so what he does is he has them write down their PIN number on the back of one of the business cards, and then on the other cards he has them write just fake numbers, and then mix them up, and then with the cards face down, he's able to tell which one is which card is the one that has their PIN number, and then without looking at it, he's able to tell them the actual PIN number. This is a great effect. It really is it's great, especially if you want to do any magic with the person's cell phone. It kind of segues into that because now they have their cell phone out and it's open. So it's definitely something you're going to use, definitely. And for those of you that are interested to know, you can also find the effect in his book, Bigger Fish 2. And if you do look for it in Bigger Fish 2, you're going to find that he actually goes into a more updated handling of it. And the method he uses is slightly different than what's on the DVD set. And I will tell you guys, I like the method in Bigger Fish 2 more than on the DVD set. I thought it was a lot more clever. What he comes up with in the book. His updated handling is just better. And so unfortunately he didn't do that on the DVD set. He relied on some other older principles, which are perfectly workable. There's nothing wrong with it. And I think that this is definitely like the type of mentalism piece that you want to learn and use. Definitely, this is one that I use all the time. And so that's something for you to think about. And then the last effect on the second DVD is called a Slate Number. And that effect comes from directly out of Practical Mental Effects. That effect you can find on page 199. And what he did basically was he took a Slate Number from Practical Mental Effects and then he turned it into Fourth Dimensional Telepathy. That's pretty much what he did. And so if you're familiar with Fourth Dimensional Telepathy, you probably know that the guy who's done more work on it than anyone else probably is Bob Cassidy. But in the different versions that exist that you've probably seen, they use cards and envelopes. Here, Peter Turner has done away with the envelopes. There's none of that. You're using 3 spectators. They're each thinking of different information. They're each writing their information down on a business card. And then what's interesting is that he comes up with pieces of information, gives them cold readings to all 3 people. It's really really like mentalism at its purest. And the best part is that when you watch the presentation is like 24 minutes long. It's really, really well done for the 3 people. And you just have to watch them, how just the profound effect on each of these people as he does it. And I think that his thinking on this effect is very, very good. The methods behind it are excellent. And for me personally, this was my favorite effect on the 2 DVD sets, was this, the Slate Number. And so if you do like that effect, I would recommend you do actually check out the original Fourth Dimensional Telepathy by Animan. That you can find that in The Life and Times of Animan. That book, it's in there. I think it's actually on page 88 of that book. And then if you are interested in it, you should track down Bob Cassidy's work on Fourth Dimensional Telepathy as well. You will not be disappointed because there's some really good stuff there, definitely. So that effect alone for me was worth the value of the whole set. So overall, I'll tell you that it's definitely a DVD set that's worth getting, and it's old school Peter Turner, so it's not like, I don't know, I guess I hear a lot of people saying that the newer stuff that he's putting out is not as good as the older stuff. So the older material is just gold and definitely worth picking up and getting if you can find it still. And I'm telling you that you still can find this DVD set on eBay right now. In terms of negative aspects, you may just be a little disappointed that some of the methods of some of the effects are not very groundbreaking. That's probably it. But again, like I said, the main value is just watching, the presentation and then listening to Peter Turner, really going over the inspiration and talking about how he came up with modernizing these effects, really. So that's pretty much all I have to tell you about this DVD set. And I hope that you found my review helpful to you. And sorry it took me so long to actually make this for you. And that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching another one of my reviews. And don't forget to subscribe, guys. If you have any recommendations of anything you'd like me to review, just feel free to leave me a comment. Like I say, if I have it, if I own it and I have experience with it, I will definitely review it for you. And that's pretty much it for now.